Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled parent stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My entitled mother demands my inheritance. After that, we don't pay you to be 2 minutes late. And after that, entitled friend calls her parents toxic because they want her to get a job. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take someone's inheritance. I will once my lawyer hears about it. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My entitled mother demands my inheritance. We've got me, 35 female. We've got my mom, 59 female. My paternal grandmother has passed. In her will, she left money to several people. My mother and myself were included. I was given roughly $120,000. My mother was given $10,000, which surprised both of us because she and my grandparents never got along. Grandfather has also passed. I know $120,000 sounds like a lot, especially when you compare it to $10,000. However, the past few years have been quite rough financially. Mom and I were both on food stamps at one point, and I'm not going to have much money left over once I pay off student loans, credit cards, my car note, etc. So this is what I'd like to do. Apart from paying bills, I set aside some money for St. Jude, some for my cousins, who were not named in the will, but who were close to my grandmother, and an extra $10,000 for my mother. This plan makes my mother very upset. She says I need to give her at least $25,000. She wants to get a new apartment and start a home business, and she says me not giving her the extra money is ensuring that she cannot live a good life. She has brought it up so many times now. She presses me on this pretty much daily, even though I've told her to stop. I'm really starting to doubt myself here. Would I be the jerk if I refused to give her any more? Edit 1. To everyone concerned about taxes, I appreciate it, but there's no need to worry. That aspect of things has already been handled. Also, I plan on meeting with a financial advisor very soon. Edit 2. I am sincerely grateful to everyone offering their input and support. My inbox is going crazy. It may take me a while, but no matter how many comments there are, I will be reading every single one. Thank you. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or their mom? Please let us know. That money was left to OP. She can do whatever she wants with it. We don't pay you to be 2 minutes late. I've worked at many retail chains, but have had many terrible bosses. Here's one story I think I can give up without any repercussions. At a small, specific retail store, 5 to 6 years ago at this point, I was confronted by my old boss on a specific event that I was late by 2 minutes. Previous day, he had asked me to come in on my day off. I'm at an earlier time than I normally do. I agreed to come in on my day off and work a shift I'm not normally used to. But it's retail, it cannot be that difficult. My old boss asked me to work 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I showed up at 7:02 a.m., which in my state, there is a 5-minute window for everyone. And this was 100% not a habit of mine at all. I'm normally one to show up 5 minutes early every day and wait aside the time clock. I clocked on and walked to my department with a drink I had already purchased the previous day. As I walked into the department, the manager greeted me, then said, "When I schedule you at 7 a.m., I expect you to be in department by 7 a.m., not a minute later. We can't pay you to clock in, buy something, and then start working. Over the course of a year, that adds up to hundreds of dollars of lost labor for one individual." I told my old boss that my drink was from the previous day and that I just clocked in 2 minutes late. My old boss replied with, "That's not my problem. You need to plan better. You were scheduled at 7 and we are losing cost of labor each minute you are not here. Be in department at scheduled time." Which is not true. I spoke regularly with a payroll employee, and she explained to me quite some time prior that the company does not pay you 3 minutes before or after your scheduled time. So if you clock on at 7 a.m., you are not getting paid until 7:03 a.m. If you clock on at 6:57 a.m., you are not getting paid until 7 a.m. Same for when you return from lunch. However, if you clock on at 7:04, after that 3-minute window, you begin getting paid immediately that minute. My boss was right. I need to plan better. I asked for a printout of my timestamps going back as far as they had record of, and I tallied up each day that I had arrived 3 minutes early and did not get paid for it. I counted well over 330 minutes within a 3-month span that I was not getting paid for, which ended up being a little over $110. I gave my old boss a copy and said, "You can pay me for these dates where I was in department on the dot without getting paid for it." My old boss then replied, "That's not how our company policy works." He then went into detail to explain to me exactly what I had already known and gave him a copy of. Yet my old boss is now recognizing that he's contradicted himself and willingly lied to me. When everything clicked in his head that he's contradicting himself, it was far too obvious because his face went bright red and he started smiling, in my opinion, like he had been caught. My old boss, "Well, you know the policy. We can't pay you for that." Me, "Then I will begin my shift when I am getting paid, not the minute you schedule me. It's not like you're losing labor if you're not even paying the employees that window of time. Schedule me at 7 if you like, but I will not be clocking in until 4 minutes after the scheduled time, as you will not be losing any cost of labor for it, and I will not be losing pay over your personal policy." For about 3 weeks, I clocked in 4 minutes late every day, no matter how early I arrived. I eventually got a warning from the building's HR that it's riding the line and very close to getting a write-up and down the discipline road. I explained to her the entire story, as she seemingly did not like the manager of mine either. She laughed pretty hard at the whole thing and offered me a department transfer with a higher pay. She reminded me that my behavior was listed under a category that could get me terminated and thought the transfer would be a fresh start. Instead, I put in my 2 weeks notice and thanked her for the wonderful opportunity. The funniest part of all of this, years later I saw my old manager working at a new chain in a similar position to what he was doing when I worked for him. He smiled and waved. I smiled and waved and continued on. As time went on, I also bumped into the old HR manager who was working in an entirely different field. I asked her why my old boss left that company. She laughed and said, "He didn't leave. We fired him for time theft." Apparently, my old boss would take a lunch, leave the building, and never clock out for it. Have you ever had a boss who stayed on your case about what time you showed up for your shift? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. I always love it when employees learn to use the time clock to their advantage. Entitled friend calls her parents toxic because they want her to get a job. My friend and I are both 20. I'm on summer break from college and I have a job at a local grocery store that I work at during the summer. My friend is not in college and doesn't work. She's only ever had one job that she lasted a month at before getting fired for hooking up with a coworker in the bathroom and smoking in the break room. Also mouthing off to everyone constantly. There were so many complaints against her. She constantly complains to me about how toxic her parents are. They yell at her because she doesn't have a job. She stays up all night with her boyfriend. They're loud. They sleep until 3 to 4 p.m. every day. For not being in college, for always running her mouth at them and screaming at them. She leaves messes everywhere and complains about her parents yelling at her to keep the house clean, stuff like that. Her boyfriend also lives in her room. He does work part-time, 5 p.m. to 1 a.m., and she complains to me that she's lonely when he's at work. She also gets mad at me when I'm on my days off from work for not hanging out with her every single time. I like to have time to myself. She told me that her parents said she has until July 31st to find a job or she's getting kicked out. She's known about this since last month. She keeps using the excuse of having social and driving anxiety, and that's why she can't work. Social anxiety? But she goes to parties. Driving anxiety? She drove to an amusement park that was 4 hours away earlier this year. She also keeps using the excuse that everyone around here is requiring experience. Home Depot isn't, McDonald's isn't, Walmart isn't, senior living places aren't, hotels aren't, most restaurants aren't requiring experience. I went on Indeed, and a lot of places are hiring on the spot, no experience required. When I brought that to her attention, she said she doesn't want to be seen at McDonald's, Walmart, or most places I mentioned, and it's embarrassing. She said only dumb people work there. I told her, well, you can't exactly be picky about where you want to work. You have no experience. You have until July 31st to find a job. Unless you want to be homeless, I would start applying everywhere if I were you. She said both of her parents have master's degrees and make a lot of money. There's no reason for her to work, and they are being unfair. I told her that they worked hard to get their master's degrees, and that's not a good attitude to have. Don't you want to eventually be able to move out and have your own money? She said no, she doesn't want to move out into a crappy apartment, and she likes her parents' massive house. I said, well, if you don't get a job, you won't be living there much longer, and she started yelling at me. She asked if she can stay with me if she gets kicked out, and I said no, that won't be happening, because I will be going back to college in August. She started yelling at me and calling me names. Also, she's called my parents' house trash before, so why would she even want to live there? She sent me videos of her screaming at her parents because they won't give her money when we do hang out. She wants me to pay for her. I don't pay for her and suggest free things which she doesn't like. She calls me a cheap jerk, and I tell her to get a job if she wants to do things she can't afford. She then starts screaming and complaining about her parents being toxic. She doesn't think she should have to clean around the house and that it's their house. If they want it clean, then hire a maid. I said, but you live there rent-free and you're home all the time. The least you could do is some light cleaning and keep your personal space clean. I work and I have to keep my room clean and do chores around the house. And she said, that's because your parents are poorer than mine. Mine can hire a maid. If I was in her position and I didn't want to be in the streets, I would be applying everywhere, and I would be grateful that my parents haven't kicked me out yet. Numerous people have stopped being her friend because she's so mean and dumps all of her issues on them and constantly plays the victim. It's never her. They are always the problem. She just says that they're terrible people, their loss, and moves on. She doesn't care. She also makes fun of me because I've never had a boyfriend, and she always brags about her boyfriend and their life. She also thinks it's weird because I don't like to get drunk and go to parties. I just don't like parties. They aren't my thing. She said she can't wait until she turns 21 because then she gets to go to clubs. Apparently, I seriously do question myself why I'm friends with her a lot, and I can't wait to go back to college to get away from her. I go to college out of state, so I don't have to deal with her for most of the year. I mean, she does reach out, but I don't respond that often because I'm busy. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you stay friends with this person or not? Please let us know.
She's definitely a little monster, but her parents are also to blame for this. They're the ones who raised her to be this way.
Am I the jerk for getting mad at my girlfriend for destroying my farm? Backstory. I, 22, male, and my girlfriend, 24, female, have been together for 6 years. We both like video games, but I play more than her for the following reasons. 1. She gets nauseous while playing games that have a lot of camera movement. 2. She doesn't have a lot of time. She works about 60 hours a week. 3. She doesn't purchase games. She has to help her family with bills. We've been wanting to play together for a long time, so I tried helping her. I gave her my Xbox a few years ago, and last year I bought her a laptop and shared my Steam account with her. But again, she hasn't been able to play because of the reasons mentioned earlier. Story. I bought a game called Stardew Valley for myself a couple years ago, but didn't make time to play it until I realized it had multiplayer in it, so I thought it was the perfect game for us, and it is. I told her about it, and she didn't think it was good because it didn't look as pretty as Animal Crossing. But as soon as we started playing, we fell in love with it. We play maybe once or twice every week for about 1 or 2 hours. I really like the game and wanted to play longer. So a couple of weeks ago, I told her that I was going to create a new save file so I could play by myself. And she said, sure, no problem. I'll do the same when I have time. So I did just that. I played on my new save file when I was alone and played with her on our shared save file when she was available. The issue began this week. She came to my house as I was playing and she saw that I was advancing really fast and I had a lot of things already. She got angry and I told her that it had nothing to do with our farm and that I still enjoyed playing with her and I thought that was it. Yesterday she was in my room and I went to the kitchen to make dinner. But when I came back to the room, I saw that she literally destroyed my farm. My crops were gone, my animals were gone, my buildings were destroyed, and I had no money, so a lot of hours getting those things were wasted. She had already saved, so I couldn't fix it. Of course, it's not the end of the world, but I was really upset, so I yelled at her. She screamed back, saying that I was supposed to play with her and that I left her behind. I told her that it was not a competition and that I was just enjoying the game. I wanted to play with her and play separately on my own farm. That is why I created 2 farms. I just gave her dinner and told her not to speak to me, and we went to sleep like that. Today, she apologized and told me that she wants to play, but I told her that I don't want to play with her anymore. Heck, I don't even want to play Stardew Valley anymore. Am I the jerk for getting mad and refusing to play with her anymore? I can understand her frustration because she doesn't have a lot of free time, but on the other hand, she destroyed something of mine just to hurt me. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know.
If Reddit boy destroyed my farm on Stardew Valley, I'd be on the phone with a divorce lawyer immediately.
Karen tries to have me arrested for stopping her from shoplifting. I, 19, female, work at a large craft/retail store, and it was almost closing time. I was at a register waiting for stragglers to check out and had my back towards the exit, which is right behind the registers. There was nobody coming up, so I was looking around and I noticed a woman walking quickly behind me towards the exit. By the time I saw her, she was already turning towards the doors and walking into the foyer, which leads to the outside entrance, and I only saw her back and a little of her side. Enough, I noticed her arms were crossed over her chest like she was holding something against it. I didn't think much of it, just yelled, "Have a good night." I guess she was so focused on getting out of the store, she didn't notice me standing there. So when I spoke to her, she startled really badly and dropped what she was holding. It was a little vase that cost like $10. So immediately, I walked towards her out into the foyer. I don't know why she stayed there. She could have just booked it and I wouldn't have followed her. And I asked her if she was planning to pay for the vase, kind of in a snarky way, but it was late and I was too tired for this BS. She got huffy and said yes, so I picked up the vase to bring it to my register and check her out. I don't know if that set her off or what, but she suddenly got really upset and snatched the vase away from me. She said,
"I paid for this,"
and then started talking some bull about my dirty paws being all over her property. I already knew what this was going to turn into, so I went to the registers and picked up a phone and paged for my manager. A couple of my coworkers came up to the registers and she started talking to them about how I had tried to steal her property and accused her of shoplifting and yelled at her. They all knew she was lying already because I'm a very quiet, shy person and I've never raised my voice, let alone yelled at someone at work. The lady started telling my coworkers to call the cops and also started saying that I had physically cornered her and that she was afraid for her life. Now this woman was tall and pretty broad, and I'm average height/thin, so she's a good 5 to 6 inches taller than me and much bigger, besides height. There's no way I could have intimidated her that much. My coworkers and I just let her carry on until my manager got there, and it turned out that he had been suspicious of her earlier and had been checking the cameras. When she tried to start her BS on him about having me arrested and stuff, he already knew she didn't pay for anything and told her to leave and stop harassing his employees. She told him that she would be calling corporate. He said go ahead, and she stormed out after that. The kicker of this whole thing was that she was wearing what seemed like expensive clothes and nice jewelry, and when we watched her leave, it was in a car that looked pretty new and expensive. And she was trying to steal and make a big fuss over a little $10 vase? When she obviously has the money to afford many of them? I hate customers like this. Am I the jerk for walking out during a dinner with my boyfriend's family? Due to my religion, I'm Indian living in America. I, female 21, don't eat beef. I only eat chicken because I've never liked any other meats. I can't stand to see someone eat beef, so I never put myself in a situation where I have to witness that. My boyfriend, male 22, is very nice about this and restrains from eating beef when I'm around. His sister, female 25, came to surprise visit a couple months back and wanted to go out for a steak dinner. My boyfriend refused because I was over at his house. I had suggested they both go and I can order myself a pizza. My boyfriend didn't want to go without me since we only get to spend around 2 days a week with each other. We ended up going to Burger King and his sister was mad at me because she thought I was trying to turn him vegan or something. Cue to a couple of days back, my boyfriend's mom invited us to dinner so he could introduce me to his family. His sister was also in town. My boyfriend told his mom to make a chicken and she agreed. I was very nervous to meet his family, and because I have horrible anxiety, I don't like talking to strangers, and it takes me a while to get comfortable around new people. It was a little awkward at the beginning since I would only answer questions his parents asked me, and after some jokes and teasing, I finally felt comfortable. When we all sat down to have dinner, His mom brought out my plate first, mentioning I was the only one eating chicken. I was confused about this since I thought she would be cooking chicken for everyone. The dish looks like one of those ready-to-eat microwave meals, but I didn't care because I didn't expect his mom to cook two separate meals. She brings out everyone else's plates, and it turns out my boyfriend's sister had asked her to make braised beef. I didn't want to be rude, but at the same time, I didn't want to sit there and watch them eat beef. So I politely excused myself from the table and went to sit in the living room with my plate. My boyfriend came out to talk to me, and I was trying to tell him that it's fine. Everyone can have dinner, and then we can continue to talk afterwards. His sister comes storming out of the dining room, fuming about how I ruined such a nice dinner, and I was being the jerk for not letting her brother eat his food. Which, by the way, I never said he couldn't eat his dinner. She called me a bunch of names and basically said I insulted her parents by walking out from the dinner table, and that her brother deserved to be with someone that let him eat whatever he wanted to. She ended her rant by saying to my boyfriend, "You should have known better than to date her." I was practically crying at this point because I felt responsible for ruining their dinner. My boyfriend told his sister off, and we left. His parents never even came out of the dining room to say goodbye. Edit 1. To everyone asking why I can't watch people eat beef, it's because the smell is very off-putting to me. So as long as I'm not in super close proximity with someone eating beef, I'm okay. I only moved to the States about 3 years back, half of which was spent in lockdown, so I haven't had to deal with many situations like this. I'm trying to get used to it to avoid anything in the future. Edit. I mustered up the courage to call his mom and apologized. I told her it was rude of me to walk away after explaining why I couldn't stand the smell, and said sorry that she had to cook 2 meals. She was very nice about it. Mentioned that she only cooked the beef and brought a microwave chicken dinner because she didn't have the time to cook 2 meals. His mom also apologized for making beef. Turns out my boyfriend had told her to cook chicken because I couldn't eat beef due to my religious beliefs, so she was planning on cooking chicken for everyone, but his sister asked for beef. I've been invited to dinner again, and this time we will all be eating chicken and boyfriend's sister won't be there. Edit 3. To everyone asking why I can stand the Burger King smell, it's because it smells like grease to me, not beef. The Burger King I go to smells like smoke and grease, and not of any particular meat. Entitled Mom Dislikes My Signature, Demands I Change It. I'm a high school principal, and for better or worse, that means signing a lot of documents. I mean a lot. Report cards, IEPs, reports, requests, diplomas, the list is endless. Over the years, I have developed a signature that is easy to write, distinctive, and kind of hard to read. In other words, it's a scrawl. Well, recently I sent home registration papers to a new parent whose teenager will be entering the school in September. They included a cover letter signed by me. The next day, there was a message on our school's voicemail from the parent, entitled Mom.
Hi, I just received the registration package from the school, and I had a question about the letter that came with it. It says it's from the principal, but I can't read his signature.
Now, note that under my signature is my name and title printed proudly in 12-point Times New Roman, entitled Mom.
Can someone get back to me about this?
My secretary called back, and entitled Mom demanded to speak to me personally. Me. Hi there, Brother P speaking. How can I help you?
I received your letter with the registration package. I was a little confused because I couldn't read your signature.
Me. Confused? How? It was from me.
I know, but I couldn't read your signature. So?
Me. Quietly reflecting. Karen.
You know, I don't want to make a big deal of it, but I don't think it's okay to have a signature people can't read.
Me. I'm not sure I understand your concern. The letter is from me on school letterhead with my name and title clearly displayed. She interrupts me.
But I can't read the signature. I think it needs to be clearer so that, you know, people can read it.
Me. Thoughtfully silent.
I think you need to change it.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling. If you're having any difficulty with the registration papers themselves, you can talk to our guidance secretary.
Are you going to fix it?
Me. Fix it? My signature?
I think you need to change it.
Me. Thanks. If you need assistance, I'll pass your call to guidance. Bye now. I hung up. A little while later, I received an email from entitled Mom with suggested examples of what she wanted my signature to be. I thoughtfully deleted it. I guess I'm the nastiest person ever. A woman and her husband came in for Father's Day, started giving the hostess a hard time about wanting a four-top for the two of them, started threatening to leave, says they were promised by the owner. I go over and tell them I can give them a big table for the next hour if they really want it. Okay, great. They're so happy about it. They start asking about things that aren't on the specials, have to explain why we can't. Help them order something else. Cool. I take their order. Husband orders the steak, medium, and tells me they can't eat carbs, so he wants vegetables instead of fries. The woman orders the chicken. They ate 2 baskets of bread. The food comes out and they seem happy. The guy almost ate the whole steak, and the woman seemed to really be enjoying her meal. My busser comes over to me and says when she asked if they were still working on their plates, they seemed upset and said,
"No, you can't take our plates."
Later on, I see the guy moved over to another seat at the table, away from his food. I go over and ask if they're still enjoying their meal. Lady:
"No, I'm not enjoying my meal. You never asked my husband what temperature he wanted his steak."
Me: "Oh, he told me medium when he ordered." And she goes,
"No, he didn't. You never asked."
I pull out my notepad and show her the order I wrote down. Says medium. Lady:
"No, and also I have felt so rushed. You've been rushing us this whole time."
Me: "Ma'am, I apologize, but I did tell you that this table is only available for an hour." She starts yelling that she wants the owner, but the owner is the chef, so he's behind the line during a busy dinner. I tell her that he'll be over as soon as he can. Time passes and she won't get up. It's been an hour since they sat. Owner/chef goes over. She starts saying that he broke his promise to her and that I've given her the worst service of her life, etc. Owner comes over, says to remove their drinks from the check and to give it to them. So I do, and the lady tells me to pack the little bite of steak left because she's going to give it to her dogs. Lady:
"You never even asked us if we wanted desserts. You know I have the same job as you, and I've never treated anyone as horrible as you've treated us tonight."
At that point, I was so upset. So I said, "Oh, really? Where do you work?" And she goes,
"Excuse me? That's none of your business."
and I say to her, "Okay, I just wanted to know, so I never go there." I walked away. A little while later, she's walking out and says to the hostess,
"That waitress is the nastiest person I've ever met in my life."
It was pretty stressful. Went to the break room and cried for a second. Oh, and the tip line on the check was scratched out to the point where the receipt was about to rip. Am I the jerk for telling my brother I'm not his mom when he asked me for financial help? I, 30 female, have a brother, 24 male. Our parents were not good parents. They had kids they couldn't afford, couldn't parent, and because I was the girl and the firstborn, I was put in charge of my brother more times than I could count. I was also made to bear financial responsibilities once I started doing odd jobs for money or working part-time after school. Literally, once my parents found out, they sent my brother to me for food, clothes, activities, and my dad even quit his job, so I was the breadwinner on a very small amount of money. I ended up cutting all 3 of them off a decade ago. I couldn't with my brother. He told me it was my job to look after him, that I was the oldest and he deserved to have someone look after him, and I was being selfish not wanting to do it. I told him it should never have been my job. He was clear he did not care. I've not had any contact with him since, until recently he reached out, told me he had a kid and his girlfriend was pregnant and they were struggling and wanted money for a surgery and wanted money to help feed their kid. There was no hi or asking how I was, saying anything that showed he was doing anything but trying to get money. I told him no. He said it was my responsibility and I should think of his kids and prevent them from having the same life we did. I snapped, told him to leave me alone, that I'm not his mom and I will not support him for the rest of my life, that if he wants better for his kids, he can do what I had to. Okay, I was alone because nobody supported me. Nobody gave a hoot about what I needed, that he's a grown man now and needs to take responsibility. He called me all sorts of names. I was around my husband's family when he sent the message. They asked, and they all thought I was very harsh and that he was kind of right about me being a jerk when there are kids involved, and it's how he was raised. It makes me mad, because why don't I just use that excuse to leech off people then? Why am I doing the best for my family, my kids, but it's okay for him not to? But they planted seeds of doubt. Am I the jerk? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her brother? Please let us know.
Nothing's worse than leeches. Always cut them out of your life. And huge shout out to our newest official channel member, Tyler. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really means the world to us. Join as a member today and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video.